Hey guys, today's video is called Why Are You a Christian? And it's a rhetorical question because the Bible actually tells us why we're Christians. It says in the book of Ephesians, chapter 2, verse 10, that we are the workmanship of God created in Jesus Christ to do good works that God has ordained before the foundation of the world. What are those good works? The good works are this. We are to preach the gospel to every creature. That is why we have been employed in God's kingdom. That's what we're meant to be doing. So, let's read some parables concerning God's kingdom and the preaching of the gospel. Now, there are things that we each set aside time to do every day. Like, we set aside time to brush our teeth every day. At least I hope that you're each setting aside time to brush your teeth. And if you're not, your dental hygienist would probably recommend that. But I digress. That is not my point. My point is, we should be preaching the gospel every day, as best as we can make time to do it. And there's no excuse for someone to not be preaching the gospel because it's so easy. It's so easy. And I'm going to show you some ways to do it with 30 seconds of your time, and you don't even have to leave YouTube. But we'll get to that in a bit. I want to now read to you two parables taken from Matthew chapter 25 and Matthew chapter 20. Let's start in 25 first. Jesus gave this parable and said, "The kingdom of God is also like what happened when a man went away and put his 3 servants in charge of all that he owned. The man knew what each servant could do. So he handed 5,000 coins to the first servant, 2,000 to the second, and 1,000 to the third. Then he left the country. As soon as the man had gone, the servant with 5,000 coins used them to earn 5,000 more, and the servant who had 2,000 coins did the same with his money and earned 2,000 more. But the servant with 1,000 coins dug a hole and hid his master's money in the ground. Some time later, the master of those servants returned, and he called them in and asked them what they had done with his money. The servant who had been given 5,000 coins brought them in with the 5,000 extra that he had earned and said, 'Sir, you gave me 5,000 coins, and behold, I have earned 5,000 more.' 'Wonderful,' the master said. 'You are a good and faithful servant. I left you in charge of a little, but now I will make you in charge of a lot.' Next, the servant who had been given 2,000 coins came in and said, 'Sir, you gave me 2,000 coins, and I have earned 2,000 more for you.' 'Wonderful,' the master said. 'You are a good and faithful servant. I left you in charge of a little, now I will leave you in charge of a lot.' The servant who had been given 1,000 coins came in and said, 'Sir, here's the money. I hid it. Here it is.' The master of the servant told him, 'You lazy and good-for-nothing servant, you could have at least put the money in the bank so that I could have earned interest on it.' Then the master said, 'Now, give me your money, and I will give it to the one who has 10,000 coins. Everyone who has something will be given more, and they will have more than enough. But everything will be taken away from those who don't have anything. You are a worthless servant, and you will be thrown out into the dark, where people will cry and grit their teeth in pain.'" So let me just expound on that very quickly. Jesus has given us the gospel, okay? Now, you can either keep it to yourself in a handkerchief, in the mud, you can keep it in the ground, all to yourself, and that's like the wicked servant. You see, you've been given this gospel, not just for you, but so that you could give it to other people. You are going to reap the benefits of the gospel. You will be saved. But how dare you take the gospel and hurtle it all to yourself and not share it with people? We are commanded by God to preach that gospel to every creature. That is what we have been called to do. And so, another interesting thing you should note about that parable is, it said that he knows how much each of us are capable of doing, so he only gives to us what he expects of us and what he knows we are capable of doing. Don't look at someone who's some of the massive televangelists who have reached millions of people and say, "Well, I can never do that." Well, God hasn't necessarily called you to be that. God's called you to do what he knows you're capable of doing, and you got to do what you know you're capable of doing. You have no excuse not to do it because you're capable of doing it. That's all I want to say on that one, because the next parable will make a few more things clear. This is Matthew chapter 20. As Jesus was telling what the kingdom of heaven would be like, he said, "Early one morning a man went out to hire some workers for his vineyard. After he had agreed to pay them the usual amount for a day's work, he sent them off to the vineyard. About 9 that morning, the man saw some other people standing in the market with nothing to do, and he said he would pay them what was fair if they would work in his vineyard, so they went. At noon, and again at about 3 in the afternoon, he returned to the market, and each time he made the same agreement with others who were loafing around with nothing to do. Finally, about 5 in the afternoon, the man went back and found some others standing there. He asked them, "Why have you been standing here all day long with nothing to do?" "Because no one has hired us," they answered. Then he told them to go and work in his vineyard. That evening, the owner of the vineyard told the man in charge of the workers to call them in and give them their money. He also told the man to begin with the ones who were hired last. When the workers arrived, the ones who had been hired at 5 in the afternoon were given a full day's pay. The workers who had been hired first thought that they would be given more than the others. But when they were given the same, they began complaining to the owner of the vineyard and said, "The ones who were hired last worked for only an hour, but you paid them the same as you paid us who have worked the entire day." The owner answered them, "Friend, I didn't cheat you. I paid you exactly what we agreed on. Take your money now and go. What business is it of yours if I want to pay them the same that I paid you? Don't I have the right to do with my money that which I want to do? Why should you be jealous if I want to be generous?" Jesus then said, "So it is. Everyone who is now first will be last, and everyone who is last will be first." Let's put these two parables together. Okay. God has entrusted each of us with the gospel. If you're a Christian, you have the gospel, you know it. It is now entrusted to you to preach it. Now, we also know some people are more successful at reaching more people than others. Some people reach millions, some thousands, some hundreds, some dozens, and some only a few. The question is not how many people you reach. The question is how many has God entrusted to you to reach? Because you can look on TV and see those like televangelists who are reaching millions of people, okay? But if they're meant to reach billions of people, then they're doing less of a job of those who are only meant to reach 100 and they actually reach 100. That is to say, you are to do what you know you're capable of doing and reach the amount of people you are capable of doing, and you will reap the exact same reward as those who reach many, many more times than yourself, okay? So don't compare yourself to other preachers and say, "I'm not reaching as many as that guy over there, therefore I must be some kind of less of a Christian." We are each intricate parts of the building of this kingdom. And we all have been entrusted with this gospel, so we all have to preach it, all of us, okay? Some are more elegant than others, but you know what? That's totally irrelevant. We got to preach it. Now, we have a few minutes left here, and I want to show you how easy and how quick it is to preach the gospel. You know, like I said, we all have time to set aside each day, and all I'm asking you guys, if you're not preaching the gospel, remember that first parable about the wicked servant, okay? You do not want to be in that position. We have to at least preach the gospel. Now think about this. If we all take this seriously, I have about 20,000 subscribers. There are 365 days in a year. If each one of us takes it upon ourselves to preach the gospel for 30 seconds a day, for 365, 20,000 times 365, that's a big number, okay? That's over 700,000 people we can reach in a year. 700, that's almost 1 million people. That just us here on YouTube, the small community of people here on the VenomFangX channel, we can reach almost 1 million people in a year, and we can reach more than that if you guys work even harder at it. So I want to show you how quickly, 30 seconds, I'm going to preach the gospel in 30 seconds. You ready? Let's do it. Let's go. Come on. Gospel, 30 seconds. You go to the search bar. Okay, I told you don't have to leave YouTube. Now, if you want to go to a chat room or something, or a message board and preach it there, cool, all the power to you. But for those of you who are really lazy, here's the 30-second YouTube solution. Go to the search bar at the top and type in anything. Now, you can either be really literal or type in anything you want. And basically find a totally random video. I'm going to click on this Stonehenge, whatever. Now, you can either message the person who made the video, or you've got a list of people down the bottom. I'm going to message the guy who just posted 3 hours ago. His name is Dirty Foreign Devil. Well, he certainly needs the gospel. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to send him a message, okay? And my message is pre-prepared, okay? So you just have to write it out once, and then save it, and it'll take even less time the next time you do it. So there you go. That's it. I'm just going to say, want proof of God, and put my website there. Now, you could actually preach the gospel, articulate it. I actually have it saved right here. I have my gospel. I have a ton of stuff written down, but like here, you know, I say, God makes it clear that all have sinned. Have you ever told a lie? Do you think you're a good person? I explain the gospel, and at the end, I link to a website. You know, you guys can do the same. So just come up with your own good stuff, or link to my website if you can't think of anything, and just that's it. I have preached the gospel in like 30 seconds. I could do it again very quickly, just to show you how quickly, it doesn't take much time at all. I know you guys know this, but here, I'm going to click that second guy, okay? I'm going to open up his page. I'm going to send him a message. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to post my message, sent, done. How long did that take me? Not very long at all. There you go, guys. It's really that simple. You have no excuse not to do it, and get to it. God bless.